scheme that shares medical records with health providers, both inside and outside the NHS, have an extra 6 months to do so. The NHS England made the announcement yesterday, admitting they didn't let the public know properly about how they could do it.
We've listened to patients and their doctors who've said to us that they need more time to explain what this scheme is all about. Specifically, GPs have been in contact with patients since last October. This January, as part of a very broad scheme of public awareness raising, we issued the leaflets. But the issue is that we recognise that GPs and patient groups are raising with us concerns about the degree to which there is enough awareness, because fundamentally we believe absolutely that people have a proper, real right to make an informed choice about whether they want to participate in this programme.
Well, that was Tim Kelsey from NHS England speaking to 5 Live. The Conservative MP David Davis is a former Shadow Home Secretary. Morning.
Good morning.
We know that no one is obliged to take part in this. We know that the data would be anonymised. Do you think there's been a bit of scaremongering about it?
Well, you're wrong about both things. I mean, the first thing is that 6 months ago, Mr. Kelsey's department were about to go ahead without telling anybody. And it was only because a fuss was made that they issued the leaflet. The leaflet, if you've seen it, is vague, doesn't give explanation as to how you opt out. And so from that point of view, it was people weren't going to be given choice at all. Now, it's not only patients...
Well, not advertising the choice and not being given the choice are two different things. I mean, I accept your point, but nobody is obliged to take part.
If you didn't know how to opt out, how could you opt out? If you didn't know it was happening, how would you know even to ask? That was the problem. So that's the first problem. Second problem about it being anonymised. Well, there are many, many famous cases about this that show that they don't anonymise or can't anonymise the data. There's a famous case in the States where they tried to have a database which was anonymous, and an academic within weeks was able to actually pick out the record of the governor of Massachusetts and deliver it to him. So it's very easy when you've got something as very detailed as a health record to actually track down people. If you only know 4 or 5 things about them, you can normally find them. So anonymisation doesn't work either. But the last thing about this as well is that it's not just patients. It's 4 out of 5 doctors don't fully understand what they're trying to do with this database. So, it's really, really badly thought through.
And yet it does have, in principle, the support of the Royal College of GPs. It does also have support from other groups who say the benefits greatly outweigh the risks on this. Let me just finish. The information is vital to find better treatments and to improve health, and you can't lose sight of that.
Well, yes, but you've also got to understand what you're trying to do. Most of the people saying this, many of the people, not most, it would be unfair to say most, but many of the people saying this don't actually look very carefully at what the Health Service and the Department of Health are proposing. The Department of Health, remember, has been responsible for the biggest information technology failure in history. The NHS spine, which they had to cancel after spending billions of pounds on it a little while ago. So I wouldn't be too in much of a hurry to accept their arguments. What they're saying is they want to create a database, as I understand it, as much as they've explained it, a database to help them predict effects of drugs, effects of diseases, and so on, effects of treatments on diseases. Fine. They don't actually need 60 million records to do that. They could do that with 1 in 10 records. So why on earth have they gone down this route to try and get everybody, initially at least, without asking them permission? It's very hard to know, unless you think that it's going to be used for other things. And we don't know, because the law does not specify what it can and can't be used for. It doesn't specify whether it can be sold to insurance companies, a really, really serious breach of confidentiality in my view. It doesn't specify whether it can be sold to drug companies or whatever. It's wholly unspecified. They have to be very, very much more careful than they have been so far.
Good morning, it's Nicky Campbell here. I just wanted to ask you a question, about something else, if I may. But I suppose just appertaining to what we have been talking about, the Department of Health have said, just giving their statement, this is an NHS England decision which we support. This is a vital programme which will bring real benefits to patients, but concerns over how this has been explained to patients have been raised, which must be addressed. Right, well, that's what they say. Can I ask you this? We're going to be talking to the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Bernard Hogan-Howe, tomorrow. He's taking calls. Oh, yeah. He's taking calls for an hour on our phone-in on our Your Call section. Which is good.
Sadly, I'm travelling.
Well, if you were to call us up, what would you say to him?
Oh, well, I guess the issue I'd raise with them is the long-running issue of the Andrew Mitchell affair. I mean, 18 months ago or so, the Mitchell affair was created, really, by police officers briefing in order to try to damage or destroy the reputation of a cabinet minister. We went through all of that. There are now 5, in fact, a total, I think, of 11 people, one way or another, on disciplinary and criminal charges and so on. And yet last weekend, and last week, we had police officers briefing again that there was evidence which was, they said, harmful to the case of Andrew Mitchell. Now, a very, very senior criminal lawyer looked at that evidence on our behalf and said it wasn't true. But that's not the point. The point is, we've had 18 months of this. Everybody's shocked at the behaviour of the Metropolitan Police, and yet they don't appear to have learned that they shouldn't be briefing secretly in an unnamed way against somebody in the way they have 18 months ago and again last week. Have they learned anything? If not, what's he going to do about it?
David Davies, thank you. We'll play that to him. And,
my pleasure.
And all the best with your travelling tomorrow. You can always hopefully listen. It's thank you. It's 7:45
on digital.